what do you think at that point in time, someone who's struggling with this phase, and even though
Mhm.
they know that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction, but
Throwing on a podcast about mindset or reading a book for 5 minutes, 5 pages, doing that over and over is going to start changing your thinking, those thoughts, those negative things, those doubts. I really just committed to pushing my comfort zone. And even if it was like a tiny little baby step outside of my comfort zone every
right,
day.
what is one thing that you can trade all of your money for?
My gosh.
So, stories, strategies, and struggles, ideas, and experiences from the world's boldest builders, from the back streets of someone in Berlin to someone building crazy stuff in San Francisco, United States, to Rochester. Founders Across Borders always brings raw, real, and radically global conversations with amazing entrepreneur. And to have this amazing, great conversation, we are joined today by Candace Dudley. So glad to have her here. She is host of The Better Brave. She has been podcasting for the past 4 years, almost 170 podcasts recorded. Right now, she's a podcasting mentor and helps anyone use podcast guesting as a method to increase their brand presence, plus being mom of three. So that is one of the greatest achievements. I'm so glad to have you here, Candace, with us. It's a pleasure to host you on Founders Across Borders today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk and get this kicked off with you.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to know, how did this idea of starting your own podcast came into existence, that you want to do something of your own, and specifically a podcast?
Absolutely. So I was a teacher for 13 years. And towards the end of that, I had my 3 kids kind of back to back to back. And I started to kind of feel lonely and isolated in my postpartum journey. But I was also involved in sort of a wellness accountability group. And I started hosting my own. And I thought, wish I could give a voice to mothers going through what I'm going through. And so I decided that I'd start my own podcast. I thought about it for a long time, probably about a year. And then I finally just took messy action one day over nap time, because I just felt like I knew that if I didn't quit Googling and searching and trying to learn one more thing and just took action and hit record, that I would really probably be in the same place I was a year later. And I didn't want that to be the case. So I started, it was raw and real, and my first episodes are still out there. I didn't know how to edit, and I just started with the basics of what I knew. It has transformed since then over the last 4 years into more of an entrepreneurial type show, because that's really where my heart has fallen and lies. And in my solo episodes, I kind of teach on, give tips and tricks for podcasting, but specifically podcast guesting, as you mentioned, because I think it's such an underutilized tool for as far as networking and building your authority and visibility in such an easy way that works for busy entrepreneurs, busy moms like myself, as well as introverts and all kinds of people.
That's pretty interesting. And as you mentioned that it was a transition being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about this transition, I work with professors across. So I would love to understand, how did this transition occur, and why did you choose to leave that teaching profession and decide onto this career path?
Sure. I didn't dislike teaching. I actually really liked my coworkers, and I didn't hate going to school. What I didn't like, that I was feeling so kind of burnt out, and like my children are getting my leftovers. So I didn't like how I was showing up at home and how I felt after the day when I went to go get my own kids, and didn't feel like I had anything left to give them. So it was some tough conversations with my spouse, who's also a teacher still, and things like that, where we decided that I would leave the classroom and be home with our youngest for that first year. I've been out of the classroom now for 3 years, so it was kind of a transition and a slow change. But once I was out, I started doing some entrepreneurial things, and I had started that prior, but I
Right.
kept waiting. Yeah, I kept waiting for just, you meet your income, or this hitting a certain mark to be like, okay, now I can leave. And that never
Right.
really happened. So I kind of had to leap before I knew exactly what I was going to do. So there's been a lot of pivots along the way, but the thing that never went away that whole time was my podcast. And so about a year and a half ago, it was kind of a light bulb moment where I was like, wondering where I should go next, what I should focus on. And it was just this moment of like, duh, it's the podcast. I love everything about it. I love that it helps us feel seen and validated. It gives more people like us a voice, women a voice, lots of groups of people that are underrepresented a voice. And in that, it can create these ripple effects and help people feel seen for the very first time. And I knew that that was a thing. So that's why we are where we are now.
Wow, it's just so much like, I think we come up to this realization when things start messing up and we're like, okay, the one thing that stays, maybe let's double down on that. And that's when you realize that this is the place where you want to double down and start this out, which is a
Mhm.
commendable thing, I'd say. However, I would love to know that while you were figuring things out, how was that phase for you? I mean, I don't think, as you mentioned, income is one of the most important things. And initially, when you started your podcasting journey, there is no revenue at all in the beginning. Shifting, like, for example, a job that's making you 60, 70, 100, 150, 150K or even more per year, and then transitioning from that high paying job to a space which is so uncertain. How did you take that leap of faith?
Sure. I don't want people to think they should just quit their jobs and not plan anything. We had been smart enough or lucky enough that we were pretty smart with our money. We didn't have lots of bills or loans or anything. Everything was really paid off and we were in a good place financially. So there was this kind of buffer where I could potentially take a year off and
Hmm.
just test things out. So, obviously I want to contribute to the household. That's important to me. I love being a stay-at-home mom too, but I also like working. I definitely, for me, I want to contribute. There was a good period though where your income is sporadic and maybe I would take on odd jobs and there's this transition, right, where you're figuring things out and you sometimes get in sort of a scarcity mindset. It's easy to do that where
Hmm.
you just feel like you need to take on certain jobs because you need the money. What I have learned is then when you're taking on those jobs, any and everything, and you're not working in alignment and
Right,
it's not
right.
like it, then you get burnt out. And
Yeah.
so trying to stay in that abundance mindset and trusting a little bit, having some faith, but it really comes back to working on your mindset. So I had already been well into my personal development journey where I do read books and I work on my mindset and I journal and I meditate, those kinds of things. And I done therapy. So that has played a huge part in my journey because definitely there's days where I've thought, let's burn it all down. Let's go back to teaching, right? We have those days, but then you kind of can fall back on your mindset like, wait a minute, what's aligned and what fits. But there was a lot going on. And I know before the call, we were talking about an identity crisis. I'd say that was
Yes,
there too.
absolutely. And then I still believe the identity crisis is so bad is because you are in the middle of transition. So you
Mhm.
cannot identify with who you were in the past and you do not know where you are going. So it just feels that you're in the middle of this hanging garden and just trying to like hold on to the branches so that you don't fall down, but still
Yes.
like trying to hold and make that grasp tighter. How did you navigate through that dip or the valley of
Hmm.
despair, which I always call this at home?
Right. I mean, for 13 years, I said I was a teacher, and then I got to add the title of mom, and you kind of lose your own identity a little bit because it's easy to just get lost in your kids, and mine were so close together that it was kind of a blur. But I would say I was about a year out of the classroom and another light bulb kind of aha moment while you're in the thick of it, where people would ask me, "What are you doing? Hey, they asked that common question, hey, what is it that you do?" And I kept answering that as, "Oh, I used to be a teacher," because it just felt easier to say that than to try to explain, well, I'm doing some entrepreneurial things. I have a podcast, I'm figuring things out. That doesn't feel as easy as just saying I'm a teacher. So what I learned though and noticed was the things that I was bringing in then when I kept saying that was the school was calling me to see if I'd come substitute teach. So it was really this choice that I kind of had to be intentional about, that the next time someone asked me that, I would say I'm a podcaster and I help people with podcast guesting. even though other people sometimes can't wrap their head around that, and it might be very foreign to them. I live in a very small rural town, so there's probably not a lot of people in town with podcasts or
Hmm.
even dreams of having a podcast.
Right.
So when you are interacting and talking to them, you might feel a little crazy and kind of feel alone. That's why community of people and my two best friends that I have who are also entrepreneurs is such a big thing, to hopefully that you can go out and find if you don't have it yet, or you have someone in your corner that kind of gets you. Because when you are maybe one of the few entrepreneurs in your family or friend group, it can feel really isolating and scary to start saying what you now are. But I think it's really important to do that, because with when we keep referring to ourselves in the past, we're going to get
Right.
those past things. So I would encourage anyone, if you're relating to that, to start saying either what you presently are, or even say what you want to be or that you're planning to be, even if it's uncomfortable, because I think that's our first step towards that next goal and that next phase.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more of like identifying to get a more deeper understanding of it. Most people talk about purpose and identifying the space as to what should we be doing in life. We do not know what to do. Sometimes they feel unskilled as well, or maybe even if you have skills you still feel that I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and all this overthinking, which I'd say. So and as a teacher, I think you always solve questions. So I think your approach is to like that problem solving approach. Okay, I have a problem, I'll dissect it and be like ABCD, first principles, solve. So how did you approach this biggest life problem or the life crisis, I'd say?
Right. Well, you're totally right. It is this like expectation you put on yourself, or this overthinking. Because for me, one of the things that was holding me back from saying what I am now is I had built up this story in my head that I needed to make X amount of dollars from my podcast, or I needed to have X amount of clients. These things that in your brain we decide, I need to have this or reach this mark before I can say I'm a podcaster. I help people with podcast guesting.
Right.
So that was a holdup for me. But what I would tell people now is, if you go for a jog, you're now a runner and you get to say you're a runner. If you write a page, you're a writer. There's really no reason why we can't just say that's what we are. I had already produced and recorded and published like so many podcast episodes, but I still was saying it's just a fun little thing I do. No, if you recorded one, published one, you get to say you're a podcaster. So I think we need to kind of ease up on ourselves a little and get rid of some of those stories and expectations that we decide for ourselves or society has told us we have to do. Because, and I don't know if it's more of a female thing, because I almost think our male counterparts, they wouldn't be thinking about this so deeply,
Right,
but
right,
we
right.
are. So it's kind of just let yourself I just picture it as like a new pair of shoes. Like let yourself put those on. Start walking in that, because it's going to really change the game for you. It did for me. And it's going to start calling in the things that you want in your life. And it's okay if you're not this like expert level. Like there's no degree we need to have. I mean, unless you're
Right.
going to be a doctor or something, right? You're saving lives, but we're literally not saving lives here. We're recording and creating podcasts or whatever it might be for you. And your people, especially in the coaching and service industry, they're trying to get to where you are. So you are automatically the expert for your people, right? They're just trying to get to where you are, and you don't have to overthink, am I qualified? Yes, you are. You're probably more qualified than somebody else who is getting paid for what you want to do right now, but they're just brave enough to put themselves out there, right?
Right. And I love how you talked about it's important to whatever thoughts are going on, you have to like keep up the work and put the work out there. So many of us do not even start because we want to feel perfect. Like even right now
Mm-hmm.
when we're recording this podcast, I might feel like, I did not like the edit, I did not like the thumbnail, let's not release it. Maybe oh, Candace, your hair is not looking that great, or my hair is not looking that great. Let's brush up our hair and then hop onto this space. So I mean, I would then just put my brain into a space where I'm finding reasons to not do this, or
Mm-hmm.
because of fear of rejection, failure, call it whatever. So, what do you think at that point in time? Someone who's struggling with this phase. And even though they know that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
Mm-hmm.
So what should you do to navigate that?
I hope if you're not doing personal development that you are, and you don't have to spend hours doing it, but even just throwing on a podcast about mindset or reading a book for 5 minutes, 5 pages, doing that over and over is going to start changing your thinking. Those thoughts, those negative things, those doubts, they're going to get smaller and smaller. And then I also go back to just the action, like you mentioned, the messy action. If you can still kind of take action even when that's happening, I think confidence comes after the action. I wish it came before it. I wish we could feel like we're ready, but the truth is, we, especially in the entrepreneurial world, we often do not feel ready. We don't feel qualified. We have doubts. We have the mean girl in our head. So it's doing the thing and taking the action, and that's then leads to confidence.
Yeah, I did. That's the main thing that I do agree. Actually, yes, confidence does not come until and you act upon it. I have this little story. I still remember I was in grade 8 and I was given the task to be an anchor and introduce the principals and all. And I felt I was prepared, but I did never introduce people with their full names, which was the first time. So I was like 12 or 13 years old and I took the mic and I messed up the names and the designations. So that was like a big hit for me. And I was like, oh my God, my legs were frozen. It's because you don't mess with the dignitaries of your school, just like that. And specifically their names, because everyone loves your name and you're messing with the name. So my faculty says that, you should go to the like the cabin of our HOD and the head of management and just apologize for your mistakes. I was like, okay. So I go inside and I find the person, and then as I meet the HOD, he asks me, "How did you come?" I said, "By walking." He said, "How? Like, who sent you?" So his PA was here. I said, "Your PA." He said, "But yeah, who sent you?" I said, "Your PA." And I just walked. I couldn't understand what he's trying to ask. He meant to ask which faculty sent you to apologize, and that was his question. But I was so frozen because one action that I took, it shook my confidence. I was like, should I even take the mic once again and do the introductions for people? So, and that story, when he's asking me that, who sent you? And I'm like, I came on my own. So, like, with my two legs. And fast forward to 4 years down the line, we were graduating. And on the graduation day, I was awarded the best orator for my work across these 12 to 13 years of education that I did. And that's when I felt life came a full circle at that moment. Of course, I didn't like becoming the best orator. I want something else. But today, if I look back, I do feel that the reinforce confidence builds something,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to act. So you would be like, okay,
Yes.
the next time you want to do something or not want to do something. But for that, you
Mm-hmm.
need to like try and do these trial and error so much.
Yeah. The other thing that helps me too is to think about the people that I hope to inspire or serve. So
Hmm.
if I'm all worked up about my own nerves and making that social media post or posting that podcast episode, if I can think about that one person, maybe it's a mom like me when I was home feeling like I was all by myself and postpartum and just isolated. If I could help that one person, that would be pretty cool. That would be worth it. And so it kind of sort of flips the script into thinking about yourself, into thinking about them and service, right?
So to get in more, what changed? Like, would you like to share one instance or something that happened that made you evolve into the person that you're today? Like an instance or a story behind the current version of yours?
I think it goes back to all the little actions that compounded. For me, in the beginning, I really just committed to pushing my comfort zone. And even if it was like a tiny little baby step outside of my comfort zone every
Right.
day, that's the thing 8 years ago that I was like, I am going to do this. So at one point in time, I was terrified to post on social media. I was terrified to talk on my stories. And I just knew that if I just did those actions, if I did that each day, one little thing, that my comfort zone would change and stretch. I would change. And the things that were scary wouldn't be scary anymore. And I can tell you they're not. It's not scary to post on social media. I can hop on my stories. It's not scary to talk on a podcast anymore. But it was at one point, and I think that evolution, I guess, is everything, all those tiny steps that really don't seem important. They don't seem like they're getting you anywhere. But here I
Yes.
am 4 years into podcasting, and I can look back and I can see them all. And I can
Right.
see how much they changed me and my life, because it's easy to look on social media and think that Candace was always this way. She always liked to talk and she was always good at it. She was not. She read, and
Yes.
she worried what everyone would think. She didn't want her coworkers to even know she had a podcast, that kind of thing. So it's those tiny little commitments to yourself that are stretching your comfort zone. They really do make a difference. I can tell you that for sure you will be in a different place a year from now, 5 years from now, even 6 months from now. You will be in a different place if that's the kind of thing you're doing.
Thank you for reinstilling like a faith and belief, is
Yeah.
because most of the times we get so lost into the chaos of one's own being that we
Mm-hmm.
stop seeing things around, stop believing in ourselves, and be like, yeah, let's just stop doing this. What's gonna matter? But in this podcasting space, when you were recording the first podcast, how was the response of people? Did you like recording them? Or if you look back at the first episode that you recorded, how was it?
I can remember it. It's like 6 minutes long. It's unedited. I had put the baby down for nap time and I jumped on and hit record, and it was literally a full episode about starting before you feel ready, because that's exactly what I was doing. And so it was very mindset and taking action. And that's what a lot of that first year of episodes were, was I would get inspired, or I would read something in a personal development book and it would inspire me, and I would jump on in just a high vibe moment with no notes, and I would just spew it out and just let it come out. And I loved it. I loved working like that. As I began to take my podcast more and more seriously, and as the vehicle that's driving my whole business now, it changed a little bit, where there are some things that are planned, there are some things with notes, but I still love a good inspired episode. But yeah, the first ones, they're unedited because I just decided, you know what, I'm done letting things hold me back. I don't know how to edit yet. That's not going to be the thing that holds me back. I'm going to post this, and my people, they will appreciate this. They will appreciate seeing the growth. They'll appreciate being brought along for the ride. And I think that's true for all of us in what we're doing. Is there's so many people in the world. And so yes, some might not be a fit for you. Some might not like the style of my podcast, but some are going to, and some are going to love yours. And there's just enough people for all of us. So it was scary. I would post, and sometimes I wouldn't tell people about the episode, or I wouldn't share about the episode. I would just post it and just leave it in the podcast world. And,
Right.
we know that, or I know that podcasts like mine and other independent podcasts that are smaller, we can't just post it. It's not enough. We do need to share it. We do need to tell people. So obviously I do that now. But in the beginning, I was just doing what I could and kind of learning what I needed to know one step at a time. And then once I felt comfortable, I would add that next thing or learn that next thing. So I just started where I could start and decided to just drop any excuse I had and let it be imperfect, and got it out there because I knew I would learn so much by doing. And I would tell that to anyone. I Googled for so long. And while that was helpful and I learned enough stuff, you could stay and do that for ever, right? You would never feel like you know enough. But hitting record or jumping in and taking action, you learn so much more, so much faster. So if people are still kind of researching and telling themselves, I just need to know a little bit more until I can start, I just say, get off the fence, dive in. That's how you're going to learn and move forward.
I love how you're so much advocating the importance of taking action every single day. You hear all the online business page gurus talk about take action, do this. And that little voice inside of you feels like even if you're going to take action, you do not know this, you do not know that, oh, you do not know editing, or you do not know marketing, or you do not know how to build an audience, or you don't have those many followers, who would listen to you? Why would someone listen to you? And that all of that noise inside your head can be so crippling. Like within this time period, ChatGPT and I became like best friends. You ask me my Instagram, I'll give it to you. Ask me my LinkedIn, I'll give it to you. Ask me my ChatGPT, I won't. I'm like, it's so personal. Like what I have with ChatGPT is not something you and I can ever have. So I won't give it
No.
to you. And if you look at all the conversations, there's so much about this is not working. And then ChatGPT is motivating me, you got to do this, you got to do that. The worst thing is no one would say yes to. And I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, no one would
Yeah.
say yes to. Change the offer.
Yeah.
So, and one mindset that changed is, I was speaking with a friend of mine. He helps people find purpose by psychological methods like Myers-Briggs, and he's like an entire offer in place. So I was telling him that, I think I have this fear of rejection. I'm just tired of it. And he's like, okay, let me make it simple for you. If you knew how many no's it takes to get to that one yes, how fast will you go?
Oh, that's
And
good.
that one sentence changed so much. I was like, okay, okay. I said,
Hmm.
of course, I'll speed up like 20, 30, 50, even if it's 1,000 and I know I'll get that one. Yes, I would speed up like crazy. He's like, that's the game. The only
Yes.
difference is that uncertainty and the missing variable makes you go through those internal chaotic loops. But
Hmm.
if I just make it certain and I tell you the number, you would go crazy after it. And I was like, this guy makes sense.
It does. It really does.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I love how you shared this aspect of your story, and I could just relate it with mine so much. Which also brings me to realize and understand when you're building your audience as a podcaster or as a social media creator or putting your content out there, how is it sometimes to start when you genuinely have less followers, not much people following you, and you're putting content and having less likes, less followers? Some people even end up unfollowing you after whatever you had posted. So, how do you build an audience from scratch? How did you build it for yourself?
Sure. I think well, again, just start. And when you get those unfollows and things like that, that's, I think, a good thing because now you're getting somewhere. You are really dialing in and into like exactly who you are, and people are starting to recognize that. So there's going to be some that are going to leave because they're not a fit for you, but that doesn't mean you're in the wrong. So keep going. And even when the numbers are small, I say, think about if you had 50 people in a room with you or 100 people in a room with you giving you their attention, that would feel crazy, I think. But even with in the podcast world that we get hung up on downloads and things, but just think if somebody listened to you for 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes straight for a whole episode and you were in a room with them and they were giving you their undivided attention for that long, that would be pretty amazing and pretty impressive. I think we get hung up with, we don't have a million followers or things like that. I think on Instagram, I think I have like 5,000. So, we all start at zero, right? Isn't that the old saying too? Like even the ones with a
Yeah.
million, they started at zero. So it's just keep putting yourself out there and also check for alignment. I think come back to your body, pause and think what feels good for me to share. You can share different aspects about your life, but you also don't have to if that doesn't feel good. I don't try to put my kids' faces on very often, right? On my social media. I try to protect that. Things like that. You get to decide. It's your business, it's your life. So you get to decide if you want it to be very businessy on your page, or you get to decide if you want to show the human side of you too and your personality. You get to make those choices. And the more you keep checking, does this feel good to me? Does this feel good in my body? The closer and the, more niched or whatever, you are the niche, but you'll get there and the right people will start to see it and connect with you. So I think it's all about staying in alignment and checking in with yourself. It takes a quick pause. We can get in this rat race of checking boxes and go, go, go. Pause for a second. Like, does everything feel good? Is everything on your plate that you keep adding to your schedule, does it all get to stay? Should some of it get dropped off? Should some of it get delegated? But yeah, we all start from zero, and you'll get better too. You don't know, you're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, but you're going to get better the more you share and post.
Oh, absolutely. Even if it's just like sometimes shouting in a void, it is still helpful. And
Yes.
I would love to know, what strategies did you use, because you've been so consistent. Like 170 podcast is not easy. And
Yeah.
what strategies did you use to build it? Because it's
Mhm.
so much of iteration after every single episode, because you would get to know, okay, this is working, that's not working. So how did that iterative process look like?
In the beginning, it was like just figuring it out. Like I said, throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what happens. So I went through just solo episodes and just recording when I was inspired, but trying to do it once a week. Then I went into this big phase where I had guests on nonstop. And then I realized I was getting comments like, you're such a good host. You're so good at asking questions and hosting guests. I wasn't being thought of though as like an authority in my field. And so now I've kind of, let's see, that was like year 1, year 2, and year 3 and 4, I've committed more to, yes, bringing on guests, but also having more than half of my episodes are solo episodes with me speaking on topics and just really stepping into that. I do have skills. I do have knowledge to share, and I can help you with your podcast and your podcast guesting. And so really allowing yourself to do that. And I think that comes back to the mindset work, because we can beat ourselves up and say, I don't have that much to say. Who wants to listen to me? It just feels easier or safer sometimes to have a guest on. And I love having guests on. That's awesome. But if you are trying to provide a service and use your podcast to grow your own personal business and showcase your knowledge and tips and things that you know, and then eventually sign clients possibly that do want what you are serving, then you have to have solo episodes. So it's transformed over time as I learned and as I kept coming back to what is the purpose of my podcast. In the beginning, it was kind of, it was just in the beginning, it honestly was something, it was kind of like, it's on my bucket list. I want to be able to say I did it. And it was to help moms. Okay, that's fine. That's for fun. Then it turned into, wait, I have my own business. I'm pairing this with my podcast. And so the purpose kind of changed. Yes, I still want to serve people, especially mompreneurs, female entrepreneurs, but it's also okay to say, I also have a business and I want that to be part of my podcast, and they can go together beautifully. So there's really no wrong answer, but you have to just go back to like, why do you want your podcast? What is it for you? Because that was key as well in just deciding that, because you can take it as a fun passion project, and that's great. That's awesome. It is fun. But you can also say, this is part of my business and this is part of what I'm using it for, and get, and so that was big for me, and just really relying on what's my point, what's the purpose of this podcast for me.
And how did you merge the business? How did you combine your business offer to the podcast? Just because I personally feel that it's difficult for a lot of people, as far they also mentioned, to sell. I mean, to ask or specifically go to people and ask money for their services. Okay, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to pay for this? So since that is the space so many people go through, what was the business idea about? How did you merge it? And how did you start with asking people, like get into the ask mode?
Sure. Well, I definitely started with, I want to provide value. I don't want to gatekeep any information, because I hate getting a podcast started or a book started and you're listening and you're waiting for them to like really tell you something that you can go and use, and then they never do. I hate that. So on my show, I try to be very serving, value driven, and really anything I've done, if you want to know about it, I will share it with you. So I have free downloads for podcast guesting to get you started, like a starter guide. So I have those kinds of things. So a lot of my episodes, if I am giving tips out about how to utilize podcast guesting as your main networking tool, then I'll say something at the end like, hey, I have a getting started guide. You can just go download it for free. But if you want like more help, you can book a call with me or something like that. So it's not in your face, and you could also just listen to my whole episode and go take the things I've said and do it on your own. Some people don't want to do it on their own. Some people want your service. Some people want to pay for that because it speeds up their business. It speeds up the things that they have going on. And sometimes they don't like people don't want to edit their podcast, but I like editing podcasts. So it kind of, you think like there's always someone out there that wants to do and likes to do parts of your business that you don't like to do. So it becomes less, because sometimes we can feel icky about being salesy and things, but I guess I take it in a way that you could take all the tips I give on my podcast and run with it yourself. So you never have to pay me. It's free. But if you're someone that doesn't want to DIY it, you do want to speed up the process, or you don't like doing the things that I offer, you might want to pay for it. And so then here I am. And it's just about letting people know that you're available and that you're there. I don't shove things down their throat or like say it, pitch myself too much on my podcast. But usually I just end with, if this resonated and you want more help, here's the offers I have, or head to the show notes and grab the link. So it can be as in your face as you want it to be, and as not. It's up to you. So that's how I kind of balance it with that part.
It is at the intersection of your business, the podcast, and the offer. And I love how you talked about you're giving all the content, like not gatekeeping anything. It's like do it yourself, do whatever you want. But you know that if they need help, they need to come to you, or you would be like charging for when you do it for them. So it's like
Hmm.
in done for you, you are charging for your services and not
Hmm.
gatekeeping it. I love that part of business, and that makes it so ethical,
Hmm.
which is like so many people feel that if I'll gatekeep this, I'll make money. And they did not make money.
Yeah.
Whereas some people who share everything that they know, they end up making more money, which is, I think, the best part in place, because that's what the concept of gratitude and generosity also looks like. That the more generous you are, the
Mm.
more wealth and money you attract, which makes me ask, how has your experience been with money as a concept? So many people do not like talking about it. And I spoke with the professor, and she also is an American. She mentioned that three things that you teach someone who is an American is you never talk about politics, money, and religion.
Yep.
And yet,
That's true.
the irony is that the United States has like wealth of the entire world. People don't talk about money. So I would love to know about your thoughts on making money, wealth creation, or like the sort of topics of asking for monies, because since you are a woman in business, and
Hmm.
there are very few out there who are asking and making an ask, how has that space been for you?
You're right. Americans are like, oh, don't talk about that. But I do think why? Because we all need money to live. I don't understand why it is so taboo. But I will say that it is something that I constantly work on with my mindset of being in a really good place with money, because it can be easy to sort of repel it because we're either get in a scarcity mindset, or
Right.
don't want to ask for it or sell yourself. It's something that I constantly work on. I'm getting better at it. In the beginning, it was a lot harder. And I just think too, when you have an offer that you feel really great about and is very aligned in, like, my offers right now, and they weren't always like this, but right now they fit my values. They fit, my lifestyle and what I believe in. So they just hit all the boxes. So I'm very confident in them. I know that they are value packed. I know that they're well worth their dollar amount. So I think when you get to that point, it helps. It helps bring in that money. It helps bring in the clients, because if you don't feel good about the dollar amount that you put on your offer, it doesn't matter. I don't think the way you're going to be talking and sharing about it, people are going to be able to feel that something's off, and they're probably not going to hit buy, and they're probably not going to come to you. Whether you have to start with a lower offer or a price or something, you need to feel good about it. I always try to price things where I feel like I'd be really excited if someone purchased this at this price, but also I'm not so uncomfortable and nervous about it that I'm going to repel it because I don't think I'm worth that. So is a thing. It's something I always talk about in my entrepreneurial circles
Right.
of like, how do we price this? How do we price this? Is this worth it? And I think we can get caught up, especially women, of like, if a task doesn't take you very long, you think it should automatically be like a really small price. But the fact is, it probably doesn't take you very long because you have put in the hours and hours and hours of work, and you are so experienced and you're an expert in this. That's why it doesn't take you that long. So I would not recommend charging based off of how long something takes you, because,
Hmm.
it's not about that. You've probably spent possibly years learning what you now know. So of course you're going to be able to maybe do things faster than someone who doesn't. And it is okay to
Right.
charge for that, is one thing to think about too. So I get it. It's not easy. I will say I'm definitely in a growth spot. Like, I feel so aligned in my work, but yes, I also am in a spot where I'm not at a money level of income that I'm in a growth spot, right? I want it to keep increasing. And I think it's okay for us to say that. Why can't we?
Absolutely. It is. It's not always, hey, I will only talk about it when I have made $100 million. You
Right.
can say that, yeah, it's a growth space and you are aiming for your first 100K a month, your first 50K a
Mhm.
month, and it will happen. And
Mhm.
specifically, as in this space that we're talking about, the service and coaching space, it is doable, of course. And the best part is the beautiful money. Like so many people, as you mentioned, are in the space where, of course, we know, not naming them, that, hi, this is a product and this will help you change this, and you got to pay like 3K, 4K, 5K. And you do not get a transformation. And you're like, and you feel that I am robbed of my investment. It was not
Mm-hmm.
even an investment, but you just feel cheated and scammed. And probably the next time you don't want to invest energy or time with someone who genuinely can bring that transformation or could help you with their offer. For
Yeah.
example, like if I know that you could help me out, but since I have been burned out and I have those bristles in my hand, I'll still be like, could you?
Yep.
And could you really do that for me? How do you take care of these clients? I'd love to know any story wherein you knew you could transform or like help someone out there because you believe in providing that service that brings results, but someone could not believe because of their experiences. So do you have any story like that or somewhere on similar lines?
When I first started years ago, it was in accountability kind of wellness space. So there were many times where someone would sign up and I believed in them more than they believed in themselves. And so you learn really fast that while you need to have the belief if you're going to be coaching or mentoring or helping, you can't make people believe in them, in their own self. So it's almost like you'll be hard on yourself because you'll feel like
Yes.
you
Yes,
failed
yes,
them.
yes.
But they a lot of times people think if I just spend the money, if I invest and I pay, then that will take care of the transformation. But there's always work you have to do with it. You have to be ready to take the action. So if you're going to hire a coach, if you're going to hire a mentor, if you're not ready to actually do the things that you talk about with them or that they're helping you with, it isn't going to work out. And you're both not going to feel good about it because as a the coach or whatever, you feel terrible because you want to help 100% of people, but you learn really fast that you can't make them believe in themselves. You can't, change their mindset. You can't be at home with them and make them take the actions. You can cheer them on, you can support them, you can help them come up with the actions and the next steps, but it's tough. It's hard. You want to personalize it all, but it's just it's not your
Yeah,
fault. Yeah.
absolutely. I can feel you, and I get that. It's a phase wherein we realize and then we are like, okay, it's not
Hmm.
100%, but we do justice to 80%. So
Hmm.
even if the 20 is not working out, the 80 will still do, which is still a huge win
Hmm.
for anyone who's in this space.
Absolutely. Yeah. We want to be at 100% all the time, but it's not how it works. And it's just not a realistic number.
Absolutely, yes. And I would love to know about whenever you have been working with across people, how have you navigated the areas of stress or when you're not able to bring the transformation, you're not clear on your offer and you're not clear with what exactly you should be doing for a particular client that brings change for them. So, what was the strategy that you applied to get yourself out of it?
Mm. Well, when I think if you start to notice that you're having clients and that's happening, then there's some pivots that need to happen. There's some self reflection of your offer and your business, and just something is not lined up. And the clearer you can be in pivoting that and changing and getting more specific with your offer, the less that's going to happen. That goes with your pricing too. If you have something priced too low, you might be finding that you're getting unaligned clients that are not the kind of people you want to be working with. So I think it's easy to think we have to say yes to every client, especially in the beginning, because you think you need that money, you need
Yes.
their sign up. And so I just want to say yes. I just want to say yes. But you learn really fast that when you start to work with clients that in your gut, they're not a fit and you're not a fit,
Yeah.
it becomes almost a thing of resentment where you're like, oh, now I have to go do this instead of, yes, I get to go do this, which is what I hope that we feel more times than not in our business. So you learn to say no. You learn to change those things, tweak your offer, change the pricing so that
Hmm.
the right kinds, not the right kinds, but the people that are a fit for you come to you, and vice versa. If you don't want them to come to you just because you're the cheapest person they could find,
Yeah.
is probably not gonna be great. So there's just some reflection, whether it's your price, your offer, what maybe it's about how you're posting online. Maybe you're being too general because you're scared to start saying, like, speaking to a smaller audience. I'm guilty of that years ago, and wanting to, I can help everybody, I can help everyone. But then you attract people that they're not your vibe and you're not theirs, and then it doesn't feel good. So speaking really specifically, I usually help moms, I usually help someone who's already started personal development, that kind of thing falls into play there. They're busy, they've maybe been burnt out like I was, because that's part of my story, is feeling burnt out. So there's some pieces there that maybe you're not sharing about that on social media, or maybe
Yes.
you're missing that. So I would say go back to that piece too and start being more authentic, or sharing a little bit more specifically of who you're talking about, and you're going to start to find more aligned people as well.
So, how would you suggest? Because we are in the age when we want more followers, more likes, more subscriptions, more money, and like everything more. As you talked about an important topic of speaking to a smaller audience, and none of us wants that, is because everyone wants to be everything, but then it's about being something to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you start that out and then be okay with the fact that your post would not get 25 likes because
Yeah.
you wanted 25? So, yeah.
Right. Well, it kind of goes back to the downloads and the numbers and the followers. Would you rather have 25 people like your post and they are like your diehard people, your supporters? They get you everything you post. It feels like you're talking to their soul. Or would you rather have 1,000 people like it that they're not interested in you? They've just liked your post, and they're definitely not going to buy from you, and they're not going to comment, and they're not going to cheer you on. They're not going to DM you. I think I would take the 25 or even the 5. If a lot of us in the service-based business, especially, we don't even need that many clients, right? To hit our goals or our income goals or our goals for the month, whatever. It tends to not be that many actual people. If you The more specific you can get, the more authentic you can be, and talking directly to that person, you're going to find those 5 to 10 clients so much faster, because they're going to instantly know you're talking about me. They're going to be able to self-identify so much faster than when we're so broad and someone's scrolling by thinking, oh, that's not me. I don't know. I like it, but they're not saying, yes, she's in my head. Yes, I totally relate. So, if you have a few of those, I would take that over. I would take a very engaged community over just a number that sits on your profile that's not engaged with you.
Yes, I
Mhm.
can absolutely agree on this, is because I have been working on creating communities for people, and it even just wants like 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 20,000 people. And I'm like, what would you do after 1,000 people if even 20 are not talking within themselves or to each other? So, and if you have 50 people and 25 people are engaging, won't your community be more active? So it's
Mhm.
50% conversion rate as to not even 10% of your audience. So when they get the math, they're like,
Mm,
I would
that's a
like
good point.
50 people with 25 people who are like most active. And it's the best bet to start with. And
Yeah.
of course, you would then be having 2,000 people with 1,000 people engaged with your community. So absolutely. I love the concept of how finding your own tribe, even though if it is
Mhm.
not humongous right now, it will be the kind of environment that you want to be in.
Yes. And then that turns into referrals or them sharing your stuff, because they become like almost invested in your journey. We all follow someone that you're like hyped up about, you just love them, and you're the
Yes.
first one to share their things. And so
Yeah.
just think, when more people start doing that, there's going to be a ripple effect, and it's your tribe is going to just start to come to you. So, keep going. It'll happen. Be grateful and excited about the engagement and people that you already have. What's the saying is, like, when you think like you're going to try to go get people to come to your party, but there's already 10 people at your table, like, go hang out with those 10 people that are already at your party, right? Yes, I know we want growth, we want more, we want different people, but we also want to hang out with the ones that already have a seat at our table and at our party, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely does. It's like you cannot take care of world peace when your own house is chaos.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's like throwing a party and ignoring everybody that came because you're all trying to get ones that didn't come. I was like, the ones that came, like let's talk to them. Let's hang out.
they'll be, what about us? They'll be like, just eat
Yeah.
food, and we'll be like, yeah, this mac and cheese is good.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm absolutely loving the conversation, and I'd love to introduce the crazy section that we do, which is 7 questions to fame. It's a rapid fire wherein I ask 7 questions, and you can feel free to answer in a rapid fire format.
Let's do it.
Perfect. So, what is the biggest fear for you?
Oh my gosh, first thing that comes to mind is that I'll outgrow my like husband, the people that are important to you, that you'll outgrow them because they're not in entrepreneurship or they're not in personal development. Do you
Yes.
ever have that fear where you're like
Yes.
outgrow the people that you're close to? Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I can so feel you. That I can absolutely resonate.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you can trade all of your money for?
Oh my gosh. Probably just happy, healthy family. Just like that's the only thing coming to mind it's that would be the only thing I would trade it all for my kids, right?
Beautiful. What would you choose more? Money, success, fame?
If I was successful, would the money come with? I definitely would not pick I wouldn't pick fame. Um, I don't know, maybe it just feels good to say money because we're so afraid to say that, it feels wrong,
Yes.
but good people do good things with money. So I think let's say money.
High five. Printing dollar bills together.
Yes.
If you had to change something right now, what would you like to change in your environment or with yourself?
I want to get my housekeeper back because I'm sick of doing all of that while trying to be mom and all the things. So let's put that into the universe. I want her back.
I'm just like, fingers crossed, Candace's housekeeper, please, please come back to her as soon
Yes.
as possible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What do you like to do the most in your free time?
I love good alone, quiet introvert time, but we live by a lake and I would say I like to go down there and just walk or just sit there and just kind of soak it all in. So kind of boring, but just very chill because I don't get a lot of that time being a mom of 3 little kids. So
Yes, absolutely. What is one advice you would give to the future millionaire version of yours?
I would say don't be afraid of the money. Don't be afraid of that kind of thing because you're going to do great things with it.
Beautiful. And the seventh question goes, what is one legacy that you would like to depart with?
I just really hope that my legacy is that she walked the walk. She didn't just say she was going to do stuff, she actually did it. And more so for my own children too, so that they can see that mom, even though she was scared, even though it might have been uncomfortable or whatever, she tried and she went out and did it.
This is heartwarming and heart touching. Is because like there was this reel that I was watching, and the son did not treat the mother right, and like towards the end of it, the mother left him with gifts till like his 60th birthday, and then he's like, "That's my mom," and I'm looking at the reel and I'm crying, and I'm
Oh.
like, "Okay, I need to talk to my mom," but since it's in like brown families or Indian families, when you speak to them in that, they're like, do your own work, and you're like, but yes, I think I would want my parents to watch any episode that I do and tell them, let them know through this medium that yes, I do love them. And even though we
Yes.
did not explicitly communicate all of these things, they would always be the most important people
Mm.
I can trade the world for or trade anything that I
Yes.
have for.
Yes.
But then it's I think as this, based on the conversations that we've been having, are very deeply rooted and connected to the family, to the connections like
Hmm.
that. I think whatever you do is for them. The
Hmm.
motivation is them. If I'm getting it right.
You are. You are 100%. Yes, for sure. Yeah,
So
even down to just leaving the classroom because that flexibility of time and wanting to be there for them more, that also plays a part. So you're right.
and do you feel that people have different motivations to do things? For
Yeah.
example, like you have family, but which is an intrinsic motivation, but some might have something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's people in my life that money is what feels most secure to them. So they might put their priorities in working and that kind of thing. Whereas, yes, I want more money. Yes, we need money to live. We talked about that. But if I have a safe home and my kids feel safe and secure to be themselves and be really authentic and be really confident in what they're doing, that to me is just, that's it. So that's where my priorities lie. And so that's kind of how I keep making these tough decisions or pivots or whatnot in business and life, to keep that as my main focus, I guess.
It's such a bliss to be able to do that and choose to do that every single day.
Yeah.
Which it brings me to a cool segment and which we do. It's called 90 seconds to teach. So if I give you 90 seconds to teach me something, what will you teach?
Let's do podcast guesting. You want me to start? Okay, so to go ahead and try and get your first podcast guesting spot booked, 90 seconds, you're going to come up with 3 things that you would love to speak on. And sometimes it's easiest to think about them as like the title. What would the title of the podcast be? And you can write those 3 out. Get so specific. As more specific, the better. It allows a host that's scrolling threads or social media to say, yes, I want that on my show. And if you can think about what makes you different, what makes you unique. For me, I not only host a podcast that's 4 years old, I also have guested on 30 plus podcasts just this year. So I have that uniqueness of like both sides of the coin. So think about what that little thing is that makes you different from the next coach in your industry or the next, whatever in your industry, and put those 3 speaking points. Say, I would love to start guesting on podcasts. Here are 3 things that I think I could add tons of value to your audience, because that's what a host wants to know. What kind of value are you going to bring me and my people? And then share that. Post it on social media, post it on threads, because that's going to get the ball rolling and it might just book your first spot. So you can't guest on podcasts if nobody knows that you want to guest on podcasts. So that's boom, go post that and see what happens.
Wow, I think I'm gonna do this right away after our call, and I'll tag you so that
Yes, do
it's
it.
like, yes, this is like hashtag Candace Dudley suggestion, and doing this with her. And yeah, let's see how that goes. Maybe I do have that one cool guesting space done.
Yes, for sure.
That's pretty cool. And I know this has been a beautiful space to share this and learn so much from you, explore different things, live a total different side of it. I would love to know if you have anything as parting notes that you'd like to talk about.
Sure. I think one thing I love to share with people is that a lot of us spend time trying to seek permission from the people around us. We're looking for people to give us permission to do what we want to do. And the reality is, no one is you. And most of the time, those people haven't gone where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
They have never been there. They don't want to get there. They don't understand why you want to go there. So even if they wanted to give you permission because they love you and they just want to because you want it, they can't, because they don't understand where you're going, why you're going there, why you want to go there. So you only need that permission from yourself. And I just wish more and more of us would really trust that, because like I said, I've done it too, where you're looking for permission. You want someone to really recognize you and cheer you on, but they just can't, because they don't get why you would want to go there or why you're trying to do what you're doing. So hopefully that can help someone.
I'm grateful to have you share this episode at Founders Across Borders, and I'm looking forward to more such creative discussions. Thank you for all the insights, for all the love, warmth, and strength that you provide to people out there, to women in business, to anyone who is starting their podcasting journey. Thank you so much. You are an inspiration in itself to just act, see how it goes, maybe cry for 15 minutes, and then iterate once
Absolutely.
again.
Yes. Oh, I
Thank
appreciate
you
you.
for this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much. And I love the message that you're spreading and the voices that you're giving to people on your show.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.